So we need to keep there. All right, we'll get started, I think. So yeah, so we're back to this is our last one for this series, but we'll have more. As I said, we'll have a few more coming up. So yeah, and a bit of extra fun this morning with the cooking demonstration. So that'll be good. And yeah, and Claire, thanks again to Claire for doing these for us. So
Thank you.
And as before, now the packages that have been, I think Irene's not here yet, but sorry, the packages that I was saying I'd send out last week. Sorry about this. We haven't had anyone in the office at all this last week, so I'll get those out to you by sort of mid next week, I think. So if anybody had requested a package and it hasn't arrived yet, that's why. So sorry about that, the printed one. It's a bit awkward. I'm not in Sydney, and most people aren't sort of coming into the office. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. Anyway, and yes, as before, if you want to ask questions during the presentation, just wave your hand, and then Claire will respond. And yeah, otherwise, there'll be lots of time at the end anyway for the questions. So, all right, okay, thanks, Claire. So over to you. I'll step out.
Well, welcome back, everyone. It's our last of our healthy aging program today. Before we go into the cooking part of things, I was hoping to just do a very brief presentation on how we're wrapping up all we've learned in the past 3 weeks. So I'm just going to share a PowerPoint. You all should be able to see this. So a bit of a summary. In week 1, we talked about healthy eating, portion sizes for your age and gender, what the 5 food groups look like. And then the second week, we talked about nutrition for special consideration. So your joint health, bone health, as well as bowel health. And then last week, we had a session to talk about the virtual supermarket tour. So we learnt about label reading, as well as things to be mindful of when visiting the supermarket virtually. So this week, we're wrapping all of those up, all 3 weeks of that learnings, and how to adapt it to make quick and easy, healthy meals. At the very end of this, we're going to do a cooking demonstration. So today I'll be demonstrating how to do some corn fritters. And it's unfortunate that you'll be able to taste it, but don't judge my cooking. I hope you enjoy learning the process of the nutritional quality of each ingredient I use. And hopefully in the pre-program pack, there is also a recipe for this dish I'm doing today. So maybe after the session, you can do a bit of cooking yourself. But So last week we talked about SMART goals. We're always looking back at the SMART goals we set ourselves last week. Did anyone kind of set yourself a goal from the supermarket tour, or did some online shopping and took any of those tips in consideration? Franco, did you want to share?
I don't think I can. I graduated recently for online shopping.
So, you've graduated, yes.
Yes, that's right. I graduated. I struggled a bit for a while, but then I managed. So, and I'm doing that at the moment. So because I'm alone, and it's the way to do it, I guess. But so I really haven't been able to apply those hopefully some of the things that hopefully we've learned, from reading the labels, etc. I did look at some of the labels of the stuff I had in the cupboard, but that's as far as I went.
Yeah, no, that's really something to do in the meantime. All right, so planning healthy meals. Some tips I do have for you is make sure you plan before you're shopping. Shopping a bit mindlessly does lead you to buying things that you perhaps might not need in your pantry. So planning is always an important tip. Writing a shopping list. So in the pre-program pack, I also included a grocery shopping fact sheet where it gives you suggestions on what to buy from those 5 food groups. So it's always good to write down a shopping list based on like the whole grains, fruits, vegetables, your protein. So whether it be your meats, your eggs, your lentils, and also your dairy products as well. Now that we are perhaps staying home a bit more and avoiding leaving the house too often, sometimes preparing double quantities and freezing it for leftovers, you might have already do that, is always a great way to make quick and healthy meals, leftovers for lunch as well. It's always good. Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted, I'm interested in particularly in the freezing leftovers and fresh ingredients. Now, what can you freeze? I mean, can you freeze any vegetables, for instance, when it's fresh or after it's being cooked?
Yeah. So vegetables, you can freeze it. I generally recommend to freeze it after you cook it, just so when you defrost it, there's not as much cooking process involved. The frozen vegetables you buy at the supermarket would have been cooked before it's frozen. For meats, you can also freeze them. I recommend to freeze them before you cook them. So for example, if you get some chops or you get some mince, freeze them before you cook it. So you extend the expiry and the shelf life of it. But you can also freeze meals that you've made. So if you're making a shepherd's pie or you've made a cooked meal, then you can freeze the meal after it's been cooked.
Okay.
Yeah. Perhaps things I won't recommend freezing is maybe salads is not the best thing to freeze. It won't taste very nice either, and it'll become very wet and very soggy. But other than that, most things you're able to freeze. That's a very good question. So for recipes, it's always good to get a bit of a variety. You might have gotten used to making certain lunches or certain dinners because you're familiar with that. It's always good to expand on the variety of fruits and vegetables, grains that you're using in your cooking. So websites such as the Healthy Food Guide, Taste, or the Jamie Oliver website on 15-minute meals are a great resource to go to for meal ideas. In terms of meal delivery, things like meal kits such as HelloFresh, Marley Spoon, and Pepperleaf are delivery services that pack all the ingredients you need for a specific recipe and they deliver it to your home. So if you're time poor or you're not sure what to cook, these meal kits are always very good choices. Or if you're preferring ready-made meals, things like the Ku-ring-gai Council's Meals on Wheels are an option, or other meal delivery companies such as U-Foods, Light and Easy, Tender Loving Cuisine, and Gourmet Dinner Services are meal delivery companies that pre-cook these meals for you, and they often come frozen, except for Meals on Wheels. So if you do have nights where you're very tired, you don't want to make meals, these ones you can just defrost from the freezer and they're quite healthy and easy to access. So wrapping it up, I'm going to go get my plate. So in terms of all the 5 food groups, how are we going to plate it all up and ensure that we get balanced, healthy meals? This is a plate model that is always good to keep at the back of your mind when preparing your lunch and also your dinner meals. So if you get a plate like this, half of it we recommend to be with your half non-starchy and also colorful vegetables. So this is like your carrots, your salads, your cooked or your raw vegetables. If you're, for example, that would be your palm size amount. So that's what we want to aim for at lunch and dinner. And if you're able to reach that target at lunch and dinner, then you'll be on your target to reaching your daily vegetable servings. And then the quarter of the plate we want to contain a form of carbohydrate. So these things could be potato, pasta, rice, noodles. Other than your traditional whole grainy foods, things like corn, And sweet potato is also considered as a carbohydrate on the plate. So for example, if you do have mashed potatoes or roast sweet potatoes for dinner or some corn, that would be in the quarter section of your plate. And then lastly, you want to have quarter of your plate or a palm size, as you can see in this diagram here, a palm size of protein. So it could be fish, tofu, lean meats or mince, or eggs. Those would be your quarter size of the quarter part of your plate. So looking at, I have a bit of example here. So that's what it would represent if you were to have a balanced plate. Any questions on here so far?
I was thrown off by the fact that the way the picture looks and the description is on the opposite side. But apart from that.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I thought that too. I thought it was
sorry about that.
Maybe you can think about it for your next course.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Sorry about that. That's embarrassing. Right. Yes, Elizabeth.
Yeah. I wanted to ask because I've heard, like, I've gone off potatoes because I'm diabetic, but I have a good, you know, it's a good sugar level, everything's normal. Endocrinologist doesn't want to see me for 6 months at a time, so I'm fine. But I've gone off potatoes because, and I've sort of been having like double the quantity of cauliflower, and so virtually is cauliflower it's a vegetable, it's not a carb, correct?
Yes.
So is it okay if we don't have carbs on our plate? I've been having 3/4 of a plate of, I mean, broccoli and cauliflower and carrots, and I'll even have raw red capsicum and stuff like that. And I'll have a piece of eye fillet, a tiny piece of eye fillet. And I've been really filling up on that. It's been great. I lost 3 kilos in like a month. Because carbs, you know, like potatoes and all that all together. Because I do have occasionally a bit of pasta or this or that. So is that all right?
That's a very good question. So when you do follow a more diabetes diet, perhaps the goals on your plate might be a bit different. The reason why carbohydrates, or such as your whole grains or your starchy vegetables, are still important in your diet is they contain a lot of what we call the B vitamins. So things like folate and thiamine, those things are very main sources come from your carbohydrate foods. If you were to control your carbohydrate, a way that can lower, or if you perhaps might heard of the word GI, glycemic index, to lower the glycemic index of potatoes and pastas or your carbohydrate foods, you can cook and cool and use them another time. This lowers the glycemic index of that food.
I actually did that. When you said we could have some potatoes, so yeah. I brought some potatoes after the, not last course, the course before. I actually brought them. It's probably the first time in, you know, a year. And I cooked up a fair few of them, which lasted me a week in the fridge. And I was going to make up some gnocchi or something, but I didn't because I thought I don't need flour. And so I was having a little bit of potato with whatever the meal was for that time. So I didn't know if it made it better or worse, but you said folate. Potato has folate, does it?
Yeah, so the B vitamins. Yeah, all the variety of the B vitamins really comes from the carbohydrate foods.
What does zinc have? Where's zinc? What foods?
Zinc is a mineral, so it's not a vitamin.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So what does this all look like on different ways we can have our meals? So if you have maybe chicken and rice, you can have half a plate of vegetables, or like you have a meat and veg dish, this might be what your plate might look like. If you do have a pasta dish, sometimes we only might have the bolognese and pasta and forget about the vegetable component. So maybe having a side salad with it is always a good idea, like this plate over here. If you enjoy curry, then ensure you have some vegetables to serve with your roti and also your meats. Or if you're doing some form of stir fry, it's always good to incorporate lots of vegetables when you do it. And then in terms of your sandwiches, ensure that you have plenty of salad veggies such as lettuce or your mixed salad to go with your sandwich as well. So this is kind of what a balanced plate might look like. It might be similar to what you're already doing, or maybe there's room for improvement. So now we're moving on to the part on how do we translate all these recipes or all these types of food into a balanced plate look. For example, if you enjoy falafels or is vegetarian, this is what might a balanced plate look like for you. So your half of your plate of the wrap, your falafel wrap, is containing a lot of fresh salads or vegetables. A quarter of it would be the carbohydrate coming from your tortilla wraps. And then your lean protein might come from the hummus or your tzatziki or your falafel. Or if you're doing a chicken and vegetable stir fry dish, then half of it would be your vegetables. So you can use your frozen steam pack vegetables if you're short on time or you need to make small portions. This one over here is always a great option to buy at the supermarket, or you can choose fresh vegetables if you prefer that. If you are also limited on time or you want to make quick and healthy meals, these microwavable rice, like from Sunrise, is actually a great option. They're equally as healthy as making rice from scratch. So if you want to have a bit of rice at lunch or dinner time and you don't want to cook up a big portion, these ones are always a great option. And then your lean protein might come from skinless chicken. I do recommend, just to remove the fat off the skin. And then, or if you want to make an even quicker meal, you can go for these pre-cooked chicken breasts that you can buy at the supermarket as well. And of course, we want to cook with some healthy oils, so the extra virgin olive oil. Or if you're feeling up to a kind of a taco bowl, then perhaps half of your plate with vegetables might be a range of capsicum, vegetables, and onion. And then again, you can use your microwavable rice. And then your lean protein perhaps can come from those canned lentils or beans, which is also a great source of protein and very easy to make. So the only cooking, I guess the cooking part is chopping things up and also maybe microwaving. And then you can also add a bit of extra taste or extra protein, dairy from the parmesan. So now we're going to make some corn fritters, demonstrating how to do that. This would be a corn fritters with a bit of avocado and tomato salsa. So if you think about what's in the ingredients, it's a balance of a healthy source of carbohydrates, healthy fats, your protein from the eggs that's in the mix, as well as a lot of vegetables from the side salad and the tomatoes. So this is what it might look like. It's a bit more hands-on compared to the other recipes, but if you once I demonstrate how to do it, if you have a blender handy, it's always very easy to make, maybe for a brunch or a lunch kind of meal. And if you want some extra protein, there's always the option of maybe poaching an egg or adding some smoked salmon on top, as you like. All right. So now maybe from this session, setting yourself again some SMART goals. Our last set of our SMART goals, but it's always a good idea to keep setting SMART goals for yourself every week. An example of what goal you can set yourself from today's session is maybe you'll add extra spinach to your pasta recipe this week. And in order to achieve this, I'll add spinach to my shopping list. So for example, if you're making bolognese, maybe you can mix in some baby spinach just to add the vegetable component to it. And then if you're having a bolognese dish or a cottage pie, for example, maybe you add a side salad to it just to achieve that half plate of side salad, half plate of vegetables. Or you can substitute a quarter of my fried rice with cauliflower, as Elizabeth enjoys with her cauliflower. Maybe you can mix a bit of cauliflower in there just to increase the fiber, but also the vegetable if you like fried rice and eat that pretty often. So that's a suggestion I would have. But before I go into the cooking part of things, I want to thank everyone for joining me for the last 4 weeks. I hope you found it valuable and also helpful towards making healthy and smarter food choices. What are some things that you can do next? Maybe pick 3 things that you have learned from the 4 weeks that we've been together and apply it to your daily lives so you can kickstart some healthy choices. If you weren't with us last week, I do have a Facebook support group where we will be discussing all things nutrition, recipes, and get some healthy community discussion going. I would also appreciate any feedback and review of our program. I can send an email after this if you'd like to provide us with some feedback. Any questions so far before I go into the cooking?
Claire, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. The difference between extra virgin olive oil, because I saw that in your photos, and just virgin olive oil.
Yeah.
Which you use and when?
So I recommend extra virgin over your normal just olive oil, just so because it's more cold pressed and the omega-3 component of it is a bit higher. Okay.
So even in frying, because I tended to use extra for salads and frying just for virgin.
Yeah. So there is, for example, I do have one right here as I'm in the kitchen. There is actually 3 different, if you've noticed, there is 3 different levels of extra virgin olive oil.
Yep.
So if you want to do some pan frying or don't want that strong olive taste, you can always go for the one that has a light flavor. And then if you want to do it in salads or make a dressing, maybe go for the one with the strongest flavor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before I move on?
Oh, one more, sorry. When I went to Coles, I looked at the tins of tomatoes. I couldn't quite see how much, I couldn't find the tins with no salt added because I was in, I wasn't spending too long. But I have started online shopping. I've done both Coles and Woolworths. So then you can look at the ingredients more, can't you? How much sodium is in.
Yeah. Even though some products might still have a bit of salt in, it's always, you might be more wary of the salt content if it's exceeding that recommendation of around 120 milligrams per 100 grams. So if it's less than that, that means you don't need to worry too much about the salt content.
Right, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to move myself. I'm going to move myself over here so you can see me.
Make it bigger.
Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, so I've done some pre-chopping ahead of time, just so you're not watching me chop all the way. But I'm going to just grab the recipe. So the recipe that I'm doing is the corn fritters with the avocado salsa, and a bit of brief introduction and like ingredients we're using. So we're using the corn kernels. You can use fresh corn if you like. The one I have here, as you can kind of see, it says no added sugar as the option. So ensure you rinse them well and also drain them when you use them. So just anyone think corn is a grain or a vegetable?
I put a vegetable, but I go vegetable.
Yeah, that's right. So corn is actually considered a type of grain, but it's also a vegetable just because the nutrition components of it. The reason why I suggest to go for some canned corn instead of some fresh corn is if you want to make this recipe, it's always very easily accessible in your pantry. And because most of the Australian population does not have enough vegetables in our diet. So having some canned vegetables in our pantry, always accessible. If that encourages you to eat a bit more, then by all means, go for it. And the next thing we will need is eggs. So I'm actually doing this recipe in half portions because it actually makes 12 fritters. But I don't think anyone in my family is going to eat 12 fritters today. So I'm making just half the portions. But we're going to need 2 eggs for the recipe, but I'm going to use 1 for the half recipe size. So eggs is a great source of protein because they contain all 9 of the essential amino acids that our body needs. They're a natural source of key ingredients such as omega-3, vitamin A, D, E, and also B12. They also contain something like choline, which is really great for our brain health, that improves memory. So if you're not having a lot of eggs in your diet and you like to optimize your brain health, eggs is always a great option. And it's also very versatile. You can poach it, you can bake it, you can also do fritters like this. So the next thing we need is some red onions. So I've chopped up some red onions here. So onions is actually a great source of prebiotics, maybe a term you've heard of. So our gut bugs or our gut bacteria needs a lot of prebiotics to feed off it. So this is the type of food that helps make our gut bugs healthy and flourish. And then the next thing we need is some coriander.
Sorry, Claire, what prebiotic? What's a word that I never heard of that word?
Prebiotic. Have you heard of that term?
Prebiotic.
Probiotic. Have you heard of probiotic?
Yes, I've heard of probiotic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So probiotic is like the little capsules that maybe the TV might be selling, or they naturally come from foods such as yogurt, miso, or your fermented vegetables like sauerkraut. The fermentation process actually creates something called probiotic that basically injects healthy gut bacteria into our gut. So our gut is actually composed of a balance of gut bacteria. To maybe sometimes you eat some beans and you might experience a bit of bloating or etc. So that's what our gut bacteria is doing. It's releasing gas and releasing byproducts in order to maintain good gut health. So your prebiotics is the things that feed on the probiotics. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. Don't ask me to repeat.
But in general, in very simple terms, your prebiotics come from your fruit, your vegetables, and your onion and garlic. So
Right.
that's why it's also important to have a variety of fruits and vegetables.
Thank you.
And then, so I have a bit of coriander here, and then I have your tomatoes as a source of vegetables. And then I have some avocados here. So avocado is a great source of healthy fats, as I've mentioned earlier. They're also the only fruit apart from olives to contain what we call the monounsaturated fats. And the fats help you absorb essential nutrients. And having good amounts of healthy fats in our diet has been shown to reduce the risk of developing things like your type 2 diabetes, maintain heart health, optimize your glycemic, your blood sugar levels. It can also help with healthy skin and also weight control because it enhances the sense of satiety. It is also a great type of food to keep your immune system fighting fit and also support mental performance. So I would say it's kind of a superfood to incorporate in our diets. And then, as Anne might have suggested, in terms of extra virgin olive oil, this is the preferred type of oil I use because it contains many health benefits. My tip to look for a good extra virgin olive oil is to ensure that it says extra virgin. So like this one says over here, that it is cold pressed. It's stored in a tinted bottle, so not a clear bottle. And also preferably if it's Australian made, so it's meaning it's a bit fresher compared to your imported types of olive oil.
Excuse me, is the olive oil from Coles just a cheaper brand? Because it's not in a tinted bottle, it's more in a clear bottle.
If it's in a clear bottle, it'll easily
absorb.
The sunlight can affect the stability of the oil. So that's why it's recommended to be in a tinted bottle. Or ensure that you store it in a dark place. That's an alternative if you do have a clear bottle at home. But high quality olive oil is always in a tinted bottle. All right. So I have a blender over here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have some corn over here. We're going to put this in a bowl so I can pop it in our blender, and then we're going to add half of my onions that I've chopped up. I'm going to leave a bit remaining for our salsa. And then we're going to add some coriander. Anyone not fan of coriander?
Love it. Yeah. Is it good for us? Is it? How good is it? It's a
great for, instead of using salt and pepper, it's a great to add that taste. If you're looking to reduce the amount of salt and pepper you're eating in your diet. And then I'm going to break the egg in here. I have got out some flour. Oh, I forgot to mention the flour. So I have some flour here. I've ran out of wholemeal flour, but generally, if you'd like to get more fiber in your diet, I generally recommend to go for a wholemeal flour instead of your white flour or your low GI flours, depending on what's. Yes, Elizabeth. You've got your mute on.
Good. Leave it on.
It falls in and out, sorry, so I keep having to unmute. I've found chickpea flour in the supermarkets, and it's fantastic. When I learned that white flour has been bleached, I never knew that. I fed my kids bad stuff. So anyway, is chickpea flour okay?
Yeah, they're a great source of fiber. So if you want to get more fiber in your diet, okay? Yes.
Have my Wi-Fi gone again?
No, it's a great source of fiber.
Can I use chickpea flour?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get that, Elizabeth?
Yes, sort of.
Yeah.
I can use chickpea flour, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
I didn't know that white flour, I fed my children all their life, white flour. I didn't know it was bleached.
It's the way, in order to get that really refined texture, and also taste-wise, it improves it if it's white flour. But I guess if you're looking into the details of its health benefits or health detrimental effects to it, then of course you can go for your wholemeal flour, which is less bleached and less refined. But I guess set your goals in terms of your what you want to do. It's difficult to have a perfect diet, but if you like to have a chickpea flour in your cooking, then by all means, I think that's a great option. Yeah. So what I've done is I've put them in the blender over here. And then I'm just going to blend it in. we're not looking for a smooth puree consistency, just to blend it all up. So it's still a bit lumpy. You can still see the corn kernels, but it's smooth enough for us to mix it in with the flour. All right. Let me bring it out so you can see the consistency. I probably should get a spatula. Give me 1 second. All right, so this is what it looks like. Don't know if you can see that. So this is the consistency we're looking for. It's still a bit lumpy at the very end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour the flour in. I hope you're not feeling too hungry watching me.
I'm going to put the corn kernels on the shopping list.
And then I'm going to add the remainder of corn kernels I didn't put in, just to add a bit more texture in.
So the whole tin goes in? Yes?
Yeah, so I've used the whole tin.
So you put in about half into the blender?
Around 3/4.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. All right. And then it's asked me to put some baking powder. It says 1 teaspoon, but because I've halved this recipe, I'm going to use ½ teaspoon. And the way that baking powder, its function is, it's to raise it to make it a bit more fluffy. You can actually also freeze the corn fritters in the freezer to use it later as well. So after you've cooked it, you can use baking paper to just separate them, and you can leave it in the freezer. And if you have an air fryer, or if you have like to put it back in the oven before you eat it, that's a great, quick and easy meal. All right. So that's the corn fritters basically done. So before I do the cooking, I'm going to make up the avocado salsa as well. So obviously we need a bit of avocado. And these avocados I actually got from the imperfect section at Harris Farms. So they look pretty perfect to me. So if you like avocado, and sometimes avocados can get a bit expensive, the imperfect ones are equally as healthy as the perfect ones.
Just a matter of finding ones that aren't bruised.
Yeah, and a tip I actually recently learned for making, choosing the right avocado is, obviously we don't want to press too much on the avocado, because that means someone's going to get a bruised avocado at the very end of the day. And you like everyone's to get really good avocados. So in order to determine whether the avocado is ripe and ready to use, you can press at the top of the avocado at the very tip. And if it feels like you're kind of feeling your hand over here, if you feel that firmness, that's the firmness we want to look for in an avocado, just like your hand, this cushion bit over here. So that's a tip I have. And maybe that purplish kind of color is always the type of color we want to go for.
Oh, thank you.
It's awful when you get an avocado, you open it and it's still rock hard. So it's always disappointing.
Something, Claire.
Yes.
Elizabeth's got her hand up. But
I was going to say the perfect avocados in Turramurra at IGA in the plaza on the highway.
Oh.
They're 2 for $5. They've been for a long time, and you never get any thumb marks in them. And they're perfect big size. It's not the little fiddly ones. So Tarahumara IGA, the plaza, just on the highway there.
Yep.
It's perfect, because Coles and Woolies, you just get rubbish. I can't handle that.
Yes, sometimes it depends on the season as well. But that's a good tip for anyone living near Tarahumara.
And they deliver too. You just have to email them, and they send delivery with the best fruit and vegetables. And yeah, definitely not Coles and Woolies quality. It's excellent quality. It's yeah. I went off Coles and Woolies long ago. So
I go to the Harris Market at Linfield because it's fresh often in the morning. They're bringing everything in fresh and good value. Just depends where you live, I suppose, and what's convenient.
Well, in Tarahumara, the partner that's he's Italian, and he goes and he wants the best. He told me 7 years ago. I told him at the Flemington markets, if they don't give me the best, I don't want their rubbish. And it's perfect. You walk in, you go straight across to where the vine tomatoes are. The two avocados for $5 are there, and they're perfect. It's just every single one I opened for months and months.
All right. So what I've done with the avocado so far, I've put the avocado, the onions, and the tomatoes. So what else do I need next? I need some lemon juice. So I'm just going to do that. Put a bowl of it a bit. I'm just going to put just a drizzle. And then add a bit more things. And the option is you can add a bit of salt and pepper to your liking if you'd like to extra bit to lift that taste a bit. But for the purpose that we've been encouraging a bit less salt in our cooking, I'm not going to add salt in here. But you can add the coriander as you would have in the corn fritters, so you can encourage that bit of taste. But what I'm going to do is just mix that briefly to make that salsa.
Honey Chapel Nurseries open.
How much of the onion? Is it just half a red onion?
So the whole recipe asks for a whole onion, a whole small red onion. And I used maybe 3/4 of it for the corn fritters, and I left the remaining for the avocado salsa.
It's quite strong, isn't it, compared to brown onion?
So a little goes a long way. So that's what our avocado salsa looks at the end of the day, and we're going to top it up after we cook our fritters. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to heat up my pan. I'll be right back. I'm going to bring you to giving you a bit of a tour of my kitchen. Okay, maybe this side so you can see me a bit better.
It's a nice kitchen though, Claire.
Thank you. All right. Oh, there you go.
I know what I'm having for lunch.
Yeah, have you got your corn fritters?
I always have frozen corn in the freezer.
Oh, so do I actually. I suppose you just got to get rid of the liquid. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just it's fine. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Because it's they're always snap frozen.
Yes.
From being grown. So, you know, they don't have that yucky liquid in the can like the cans have. Yeah, yeah. So definitely, I've got always avocado. So great.
This is going to be my lunch, and hopefully someone in my family is going to eat it too, because I think I made too much.
You can freeze them.
Well,
yeah, that's
give
right.
us your address. We'll pop over.
Once we can come to the backyard.
Yeah. Or you can do some picnicking from 2 weeks onwards.
Yeah, I hope so. It might rain then.
Okay, so I've heated it up. So olive oil does have a high heating point, so that's why it's considered a healthier oil. So it does take a bit longer to heat up compared to the other types of oil. Similarly, if you have just going to test it. Similarly, for other healthy oils like your flaxseed oils, your avocado oils, those ones do have a higher temperature as well.
When you say a higher temperature, what do you mean by that? That it heats up quickly?
It takes longer to heat up because its heating point is higher.
Oh, I see. So when would you use avocado oil or garlic oil? Is that just for flavor more?
Yeah, it depends on your preference. Garlic oil, it's good to check what type of, I think you're more talking about garlic infused oil. So it's good to see what the actual oil is.
Yeah.
So I know Co-Brand Estate does garlic infused oils. So if you like a bit of garlicky flavor in your cooking, you can go for like an infused oil or onion or garlic infused oil.
Yeah. And avocado oil, that would be healthy, would it? Because it's based on avocado.
Yeah.
Good healthy fats.
That's right. We're going to cook 2 minutes on each side at medium heat. Any other questions so far while they're cooking?
I just put a comment about other superfoods because you mentioned avocado is good. At the moment, blueberries good value. So they're really healthy, aren't they, with antioxidants? Anything that is purple fruits.
I think the key thing to take away is variety. Having lots of variety of fruits and vegetables is always good because different pigments of fruits and vegetables have different components of nutrients, or what we call the antioxidants as well. So it's always good to have a variety. But blueberries have something what we call flavonoids. Not sure if you've heard of before, and that's really great for brain health. So it's always good to have a lot of berries to improve cognition, improve memory, and things like that.
So you can't have too many of them. You can't have an overdose. You probably could. Go too quickly.
How much are you having too much?
Oh, not that many. I bought 2 punnets of blueberries, and my son and my daughter and I, we just love them. So we're okay. I just put them on my porridge in the morning. Yeah. And they're lovely. A quick pick me up. The other thing with porridge, my daughter tells me that the tractor oats, or the organic tractor oats, which are the bigger oats, the rolled ones, are better than quick oats. Is it because quick oats are sort of more stuff's been taken out?
Someone's suggested sugar. So the difference between quick oats, if you're, for example, thinking of quick oats, the main difference is quick oats has been cut a bit more smaller. The main difference is how fast your stomach digests it.
Yes.
So your traditional rolled oats would take a bit longer to digest. Because they haven't been cut as finely. So that's the key difference. But nutritionally and its effect on your body, and they're all very similar. It's the satiety that's the key difference.
Yeah, I do find the smaller oats are easier to digest. What about, what was I going to say, the sugar content, or, you just got to read the packet. Or organic, why organic? Is that just more a labelling?
Yes, so organic nutrition profile, they're very similar. They're actually the same. The difference is perhaps the way it's been farmed, but it doesn't mean it hasn't been pesticides or chemicals have been used. So it's always good to see in detail what the brand means by organic. perhaps their story or on their website, they might have said a bit of detail on what they mean by organic, because some brands could have authentic organic foods, or others just slap an organic label on it just to get more sales.
True. When I do my online Woolies order, they have their macro brand and about 350 different things in the macro. A lot of those say organic, and I'm just thinking, are they really better? A lot of them look better because they're packaged nicely. And the tins might say organic tomatoes. So again, you've just got to read on the labels.
Yeah, I think Elizabeth has a tip for us.
And now I just want to, I was told that those quick 2 minutes, rolled out, whatever it is, that's supposed to have more sugar in it, correct? Yeah, so that's why I keep away. The traditional rolled oats in the box, I love them. They're the best.
I think the 2 minute ones are often Uncle Toby's, and they have honey added or extra berries. Yeah,
that's right.
But the traditional box, it just has, it only takes 2 minutes to cook anyway.
Yeah.
And it's
100% oats.
So this is what I've finished. I won't cook all my fritters as I'm wary of time, and you probably don't want to watch me cooking another 6 fritters. But what I'll show you is, so this is the final product. As you can see, hopefully it looks tasty. What we're going to do to plate it is I'm going to grab a spoon. I'm gonna grab my salsa here. I'm gonna serve my side salad first. So I have a pack of mixed salad leaves here. They're always very handy to include in your supermarket shopping list. And we want to fill half of our plate with your side salad. Yeah. And then I'm gonna take the avocado salsa and put that on top. I'm gonna come over and show you. So that's our final product of our balanced plate. So we have our carbohydrates, we have our vegetables, we have our healthy fats, and we have our protein. So for extra protein, you can always add, like I said, a bit of poached egg or some smoked salmon on top. Or if you prefer, maybe you can add an extra egg, but maybe a bit more flour just to make sure it's a bit firm. You can always keep these in the freezer like we talked about, so you can take them out and use them for lunch as a quick option. Other than corn, you can also use zucchini. You might have had zucchini fritters before. You can also do it with a mix of vegetables, which is also very great to make fritters. That's really easy to make. But I hope you guys enjoyed this cooking demonstration and found it seems like we're all very hungry.
Well, we are now.
It's lunchtime soon, so maybe you'll have this for lunch. But that's kind of the wrapping up of our session today. I hope we found it very useful and informative. I just have a question.
Yeah, so I was just going to point that one out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so Juliet's asked, can you tell us about air fryers? Do you not use any oil at all in them? Can use them for nearly all cooking? Oh, that's right. So with the air fryer, the way the technology works is if, for example, if you roast a chicken or have some chicken wings or anything like that, the way the technology works is the technology drains the oil from the skin or from the product, and it lands at the bottom of the container. If you have an air fryer, you'll know what I talk about. It ends up at the bottom, and this removes the fat as much as possible from the product. If you're making something like a roast potato or potato fries, you'll need a bit of oil because there's no oil at all on the potato. Otherwise, it won't be crispy or be just very dry. So I do recommend maybe using olive oil if you like, or a preferred form of healthy oil, just to coat it a bit and gives that crispiness. In terms of if the product itself already consists of a bit of oil, such as a roast chicken, for example, then you may not need oil because the natural oils will give the meat a bit of moisture. Hopefully that answers your question. And the foods you cannot use. I think you can cook anything in the air fryer, is whether you'll eat it or not. Some people might, for example, if you enjoy vegetable chips, you can make zucchini chips in them or carrot chips, rather than buying the ones that's in the supermarket that has been seasoned with a lot of salt or added ingredients. So you can always use the air fryer for things like that. Yeah, so I think that's the questions we have. Anything else everyone wants to ask?
Claire, Elizabeth mentioned you could use frozen corn, which I do have in the freezer instead of the tin. The amount, the recipe I had said 3 cups for, would you then do like 1.5 cups of corn, or you just, yeah, you work out what 1 tin is, how many grams, and work out?
Yeah, is your corn a whole corn kernel? Or
no, it will be cut up.
Yeah. Okay, it would be similar in portions. Maybe defrost it first and then you can measure it out. But quantity-wise, it would be very similar. But then you have to maybe eyeball how much flour you're adding and whether it's too wet because you've just defrosted it.
Yeah, because in the corn tin, the liquid, the amount in a tin is what, 425 grams or something?
Yeah, 420 grams.
Is that just the corn or the corn and the liquid?
It's the corn and the liquid a bit,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
But we've drained the liquid in this recipe that I've demonstrated today.
That's corn. All right.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my shopping list to get the corn. That's really good. Wonderful.
All right. So I think that wraps up. Yes, Elizabeth. One lucky last.
I just learnt last week that zucchini has magnesium. And so virtually, yes, you mentioned we could use zucchini in this, which magnesium is good for, like, if people have joint pain or sort of like arthritis, some kind of a pain like that. So yeah. So that was a good tip, I thought, to share.
All right. So if you all
did you hear it?
Yes, I did hear that.
Yes. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Your screen's dropping in and out, but I think I heard the voice.
So zucchini has magnesium in it. So if anybody has joint pain or anything like that, I learned last week that it's really good for that. Yeah. So yeah, we can have zucchini fritter and corn.
Yes, and you can freeze them as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Robin, for organising all of this. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we can.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Claire for putting all that together. That was a really great sort of range of ideas and so on. I love my favorite thing today was the one about, the handful of this and the fist of that and the palm size that. I think that's a really, really easy way to kind of, because if you're trying to think, well, how much is 120 grams of whatever, I can't gauge that at all. So to me, that was a great way to do it. Yeah. And if anybody wants to,
Yes.
Oh, no,
thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all stay safe and healthy during this time as well.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if anyone wants to revisit, the recording will be on our website, which I'll send through to everybody who's linked into these workshops. So yeah, so we'll keep that up there for a little while.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye,
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.